The next process in the development of the project is to identify the work. This is how we determine what needs to be done. We're going to explore the value of a kickoff meeting and why have a kickoff meeting. Then we're going to look at the tool that is used to determine what work is required to make this project successful, called the work breakdown structure. So here we begin with the kickoff meeting. Kickoff meetings are extremely important to make sure that every project has a kickoff meeting. We're going to explore the two types of a kickoff meeting. A kickoff meeting is just a formal way that we can actually start the project, to announce to the world that we start the project. There are two forms for a kickoff meeting. One is a sponsor, and then the second part of this is the kickoff meeting with the team. The first kickoff meeting you want to have is a sponsor-led. Whoever your sponsor is of the project, you want him or her to actually have a meeting. The meeting can be a live meeting or can be a broadcasted meeting, but it should have people that have high influence, who have a vested interest in your project. Let's call them stakeholders. At a senior level should be invited to this meeting. And the meeting is simply a transfer of power. The sponsor does not talk about what the project is other than general high-level terms. The sponsor, there's no details. The project manager doesn't speak at this particular meeting. It's basically where the sponsor transfers the power, his or her power or influence in the organization, over to the project manager. The end goal of this is for everyone to know that now the project manager speaks as if he or she was the sponsor. The question I most often get about this process is simply this: why? Why do you have this? Why do you do the transfer of power? Well, it's quite simple that project managers are usually not at the highest level or at the same level as sponsors in an organization. And sometimes, if you're not at that particular level of other senior people within your organization, you have a hard time of getting the resources that are required or even setting up meetings. So what this process does is basically transfer that power over to you as if you were the sponsor, so you are at his or her level. And that should help you to get the necessary resources you need from other departments. It should solicit their cooperation. Now, the second kickoff meeting you probably will have is with your team. Now, normally you don't get to pick your team. They're assigned to you, they're available from other departments, they're basically given to you. But that doesn't always make for the best people to be successful in the project. So what I have developed here is to have a kickoff meeting. We invite all the people there. No agendas, nothing other than the fact that every member should have the documentation that you have, the project charter and the product requirements document. Those are given out in advance. Invite every people. It's a greet and meet. Really no agenda. But at the very end of this, what you do is you're going to go through a process which I call the 10 questions to verify or to determine whether the people that are being assigned to your project are the people that are required in the project to make the project successful. And we're going to go through these questions one by one. Now, it's straightforward. The questions are not embarrassing. The questions are easy for everybody to answer. See how that process works. Now, the key here, when you bring the individual up, is you have a flip chart there. You give them a pen and you basically ask them the questions and you ask them to write down the answers. And just in sequence, okay. So the very first question is you ask them, what are you good at? You could even say, what 3 things are you good at? And let them record that. Right? Don't tell them what they're good at. Just ask them what they're good at. The second question is, what do you think your role is on this project? Now, they should have all the information about the business case, the project charter, the product requirements. The department head, whoever assigned them, should have told them a little bit. But you want their opinion of what they think their role is in the project. What do you think you're going to be doing on this project? And then you ask them the question, do you work full-time? And the next question is, how many hours a week do you get paid for? So those are the first 4 questions. The next questions, question 5, 6, and 7 are, how many hours a week do you work now? Get them to record that. Question number 6. Based on what you think you will be doing on a project, how many hours per week would it take? So basically you're asking them how many hours a week would it take for them to fulfill the role on this project. Question number 7. How long have you worked at whatever the name of the organization is? The last 3 questions, question 8, 9, and 10. How many vacation days do you have upcoming? And you could even specify in upcoming in the period, the length of the project. So how many vacation days do you have in the next 6 months if your project is 6 months long? Question number 9. Do you have any other major events that are planned for this year or for the length of the project? Question number 10. What would you like to learn as part of this project? This is a very key question. You want them to tell you what, if anything, they'd like to learn as part of the process of going through this project. It could be 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things. Don't make it 20 things. Just allow them for no more than 3 things. But what would they like to learn as part of this process? That basically is the end of the questions. Now that's the end of the 10 questions, and then what you would do is you bring up the next individual and you would ask them the same questions on a new piece of flip chart paper and ask them those questions to go through. Now what you can do, you notice that we don't ask them what their names are, but what you can do to make sure that you can allocate the answers to the individual is use a color coding system, have different colored pens, and have that recorded so you can match them up later on so you can understand what person said what, or any technique where you can do a matching from there. Now, the question I usually get regarding this process when I explain this process is, what does this do for the project? Well, it really provides you as the project manager a lot of information that you then can analyze and to see whether or not the person actually has the skills that are required and actually has the time to work on your particular project. The assignment I would like you to do is to read the kickoff meeting document and the 10 questions document, which will give you a little bit more insight into why we ask these questions and what the questions are in the whole process. So read those documents, download them if you want, use them. It is a very useful technique for you to make sure that you have the necessary resources, so the people that have the skills on your project to be successful. My simple statement is that people make projects perfect. But only if they have the right skills in order to fulfill and create the deliverables of the project. Now that's the end of this video on kickoff meetings. Up next is how we're going to develop a work breakdown structure and the value of doing so.